event. I'm Raj Tulsiani, and today I'll be wearing two hats as the chair of the event and as one of the co-founders of Race Equality Week. I do have a third hat, which is the CEO of Green Park. Today we're expecting and have over 100 different organisations on the participants already. And we've got a mix of people that we're expecting, a diverse audience, if you like, senior leaders, including some from our ethnic minority board network, leaders of race, chairs of race networks, race network members, ethnic minority employees, and critically, many allies from organisations that are supporting us. We believe that these key players can help to create a different environment for race relations in the workplace. Not to stop what organisations are doing, not to cut over other campaigning organisations, but to create a different environment where there's more trust and more know-how as to how to actually move the dial in a way that's both sustainable and critically builds that long-term bridge between our lived experience and decision-making within organisations. We've got people from financial and professional services, retail, technology and communications, a lot from local authorities in the NHS and charities, and some umbrella organisations. What we have seen is the big four, auditors, central government and luxury goods have not really bitten in terms of this process so far. So bear that in mind next time you're shopping, if we're ever allowed to shop outside the house again. But it is fantastic that we've got so much support, particularly as we know that race equality not only affects us all, but is the very glue to having a truly inclusive and productive organisation. So, Nish, if we go to the next slide, today you're going to hear about why Race Equality Week was created, what's happening during the week. You'll hear from our lifetime visionary partner, British Telecom, and Jackie Beer, who's their global head of diversity and inclusion and a long-time campaigner for race equality. And we'll also give you a taste of what other organisations are doing, what some sectors are doing. We'll also introduce you to the big promise. So as with all of these things, I need to acknowledge our sponsors. So thank you, Green Park. Thank you, BT. There's a whole slide we'll go through of other organisations who've actually put their hand in their pocket or provided services to help us get this off the ground in the last 6 months. As I said, what we're really keen to do is to create a different environment for race relations and improving racial equality in the workplace. One that builds that permanent bridge between decision-making and our lived experience, one that moves away from performative narratives or amplifying corporate aspirations and move to real action, real accountability, and real transparency. So we all recognise, I think, that the will to do something for organisations has increased in the last 12 months. What we're about is creating the environment where the skill can also increase and we can see real, trackable, accountable changes, not chit-chat. So Green Park is very proud to be supporting this. So as with all of these things, we tend to try and get interactive early on. We have a poll and we'll share some of those results, but they'll also be on social media. So if you could give us a view as to what you're feeling at the moment. The first question: does your current organisation's approach to diversity and inclusion adequately deal with representation around race? For those of you who are independent or in between roles or consulting, just think of your last corporate role. Number two, do you think your organisation's current approach to diversity and inclusion deals adequately with microaggressions? I know there are some campaigners on this call and in our network that think that the whole phraseology of microaggressions is a kind of a bit out of date and they should be changed to something else. But for the sake of this conversation and the work with Race Equality Week, we want to make absolutely sure that we're not getting hung up on language unless it's completely important. So are they handling microaggressions well? Are they just talking about them and doing nothing? Are they doing good things that others can learn from? do you think your organisation's current approach to D&I adequately deals with racism? Number 4, do you think your organisation's current approach to D&I adequately deals with having targets and measurements that will impact on racial equality? So I'm expecting a lot of different opinions on that because of the mixed audience we have. But let's see, we'll share some of the results soon. Number 5, do you think your organisation's current approach to D&I adequately deals with providing career and development opportunities for ethnic minority colleagues compared to others? We'll talk a little bit about the Green Part Leadership Index later on in the presentation, which is kind of trade embargoed for the press to be released this week, but we're all friends here, aren't we? And I can tell you that one of the areas, or two of the areas with the least ethnic minority representation in the pipeline to the top jobs in the FTSE 100 are HR and diversity itself. So isn't that interesting? Number 6, how would you summarise your organisation's activity for race equality? All the way from does nothing, which I'm hoping we don't hear too much, to takes meaningful impact, to takes meaningful actions that take real impact, which is where we want to be in a couple of years' time. So what have we got so far? Number 1, I won't read these all out, but you can have a look at them on scale. Organisations, most of us, 51% of us, they're doing a little bit around race. Again, they're doing a little bit around race being the biggest category for microaggressions. Dealing with racism, again, a little bit. So I wonder if we did this a year ago, what percentage that little bit would have been smaller. Organisations looking at targets on race equality, 52% a little bit. So career and development, much closer. So 33% not at all, which is very surprising to me. 36% a little bit and 23% a reasonable amount. And then when we get to race equality, does activity with limited impact? So all of these will be available on social media and on the website eventually. But I think that's a great start because effectively what we are seeing there is the majority of us think our organisations are doing a little bit. So let's try and make that little bit more focused, and critically, let's try and make it more effective around building trust and helping organisations co-create things that really work. So during this event, if you have any questions, either that we can answer in the chat or that we can come back to you on, please do feel free to use that function. Questions to the panelists can be submitted via the Q&A tab, and then feel free to tweet and use social media content during this event as we go through the slides. This year, we've gone from nothing to 1,500 organisations. Our stated aim is in 2 years to get that to 7,500 organisations and affect 1 million people in the workplace. So what you do now to amplify our message is really important. Okay, so the next slide, if we could go to the next slide, please. Right, how did Race Equality Week come up? So in 10 to 20 seconds, lockdown 1, Javed, myself, 9 other minority-owned businesses, what can we do to ensure that we move away from tokenistic programs, that we build a bridge between lived experience and decision-making, and critically, that we find a way of providing free value-adding services to individuals who really want to make a difference, but perhaps are a bit hamstrung or don't have the right abilities within their organization. So that's where it all came from. We can go past this. I think everyone on this call is already committed. So we looked at the barriers to race equality. We did 250 one-to-ones. We looked at the solutions. Of those 250 one-to-ones, we asked everybody, name an organization that you think is good at race equality in the workplace. One company came up twice. Most people couldn't even name a single company. So we heard that these are the things that were getting in the way. 2% BAME on boards. Of course, from a Green Park perspective, we're averaging 34% BAME on, I think, minority placements on boards. Pay gap, lack of representation, all of these excuses, we need to find ways of taking away from decision makers. Some of the key findings. Slide, please. Okay, 75% of network chairs have experienced racist abuse or harassment at work. So these are the people that we're trusting to help influence and represent within our organizations, and they themselves have faced abuse. And 95%, almost everybody's witnessed microaggressions. In terms of the good organizations, or those organizations that were mentioned as good, 55% of the network chairs could not name a single existing employer who was working well for ethnic minority individuals. Isn't that shocking? And these are people who are networked, who part of their working day is to build relationships with other firms. Of the experts we spoke to, 85% of them didn't feel that the employers understood what the ethnic minorities wanted or required in that corporate environment. So the majority of network chairs felt that their organizations had little or no effect upon their company to create meaningful change. So this is what we're starting with in terms of the stimulus to try and create a different environment. And of course, most people said that the PR gesturing and black screens was meaningless if it wasn't followed up with proper action. Slide, please. And everybody believed that allies have a key part to play. And I think this is really, this is really important, because allies also need support and training and given the right input, because actually we want to be co-creating the solutions that affect us the most. So from our finding, it was really clear that we needed something that created a protected space for pause, reflection, and accountability. Because at the moment, it was a bit like playing darts in the dark. Everyone was doing something post George Floyd and the increased attention on the death in custodies in this country. So we started off Race Equality Matters to start getting specific about race equality in the workplace. We're not trying to change the world here. We're not trying to boil the ocean. We're impactful and action orientated around dealing with organizations and what they can do to create a better environment. So the Green Park Business Index has been going for 7 or 8 years now. We look at the top, we look at the FTSE 100, central government, local government, all sorts of different sectors. The shocking news is that in our analysis for the FTSE 100, for the first time, there are no black CEOs, chairs, or finance directors. So for the first time, following all the talk about representation on boards, following all the talk about pipelining, we don't have any black people in those top 3 positions in any of our FTSE 100 organizations. So when you look at where we're starting from, let's be honest and straightforward amongst ourselves. We're not starting from a great place. Slide, please. So I'm going to hand over now to my co-founder, Javed Thomas. Javed, please unmute yourself and let's get into some of the details of how we can help organizations move forward.
Thank you, Raj. So, as Raj said, from the research we did, from the conversations we've had, there are 5 key things we wanted. We must not lose this opportunity. And I think in a recent poll we did, 70% of people were very concerned about that. The moment we had in the summer, let's turn to movement. We need to keep it going. What's been key and has got us to where we are today is a UK-wide collaboration of people and organizations. Our whole thing is solutions focused. And each thing we do or talk about or share has to have meaningful action that makes a real impact, away from words and away from performative. Next slide, please. So what we've created is Race Equality Matters and a network And from our solutions collaboratory, we came up with the concept Race Equality Week to unite the country to work on this. Some of the things we've provided, solutions or concepts, are the virtual badge campaign, which is the background Raj and I are using. So it's a bit like the pink ribbon for breast cancer or the green ribbon for mental health. Now everyone can download this, put your logo on there, and it's hopefully starts communications or conversations amongst colleagues and other organizations that see it. Second option is safe space. Really importantly, it's in 3 parts. What's key about safe space? It's to enable uncomfortable conversations, facilitate difficult discussions, but more importantly, and really importantly, is to drive meaningful action. That's the key thing. And it's in 3 parts. First part is there's 2 groups involved: C-suite board members, 3 to 5, 10 ethnic minority colleagues get together in the room, and then they discuss these things that's are challenges within that respective organization. The C-suite and boards go away, and then they come back and say, we're going to tackle 1 or 2 of them issues. So for the first time, ethnic minority voices are being listened to, but more important, actions being taken. This is not a listening circle. It's not a lunchtime forum. It's action driven. The third one is the big promise, which we'll show you a clip in a minute. But this has come from ethnic minority employees saying, if someone in our organization made one of these promises, it will make a real difference. We've broken the organization to 4 key parts: C-suite board level, senior leaders, allies, and ethnic minorities. Each group has 7. We call them the Magnificent 7, and the promises are different depending who you are. But imagine if we made this difference. I think in this room today, there's over 1 million, so there's companies with over 1 million employees. Imagine if every employee made one of these promises. Next slide, please. What we've also got this week, if you go to our website, raceequalitymatters.com, is a series of events, some that we're hosting ourselves, and including safe space workshops, and also other partner organizations are running events this week, which are well worth going to see, including the DMA's leading with data, tackling bias about data. Also, for all our solutions and concepts, we create how to do it right guide. So we don't say just go and do it. We provide you the support you need for it. Next slide, please. So just going to show a video to show how easy the Big Promise solution process is. For senior leaders. Using copy your promise, within seconds get it onto social media. Thank you. So just to show, that's less than 3 minutes, you can make your promise and it's become transparent and accountable for it. These are the promises that ethnic minority colleagues have wanted. And across the country, these are the voices that want us to help encourage millions of people to make that one little promise that will make a difference. Back to Raj, just explain where we are at the moment.
Thank you, Javed, and not just for making that easy, although with my eyesight, I can assure you the writing was far too small, but the website can, of course, be accessed. But also thank you for your 20 years of enacting social change through projects like the Green Ribbon Campaign and the City Giving Day. This just wouldn't have happened without you. So, thanks ever so much publicly. So let's not go back to normal. It wasn't that great for us, was it? In just 5 months, we've got 1,500 plus organisations engaged. Our friends and supporters at the CBI have got 71 companies in that time frame for the Changing the Race ratio, and they've been very supportive of us. And of course, there's some great stuff that's going on there. New slide. So here are some of the people who helped us and got stuck in straight away. So, thank you to all of those. Particularly right in the middle of that, you'll see BT. BT have been really proactive on this agenda well before we were as an organisation. So I want to introduce our third speaker, who's Jackie Beer. Jackie is the Global Diversity and Inclusion Director of our visionary lifetime partner, BT. She's going to talk about some of the things that they're doing, but she is a pragmatist who's been in this world for quite some time with organisations like EY, London Underground, and formerly the Equality and Human Rights Commission. Her work reaches well over 100,000 colleagues working in across 50 companies. So from a big company perspective, Jackie, thank you for joining us. Please unmute yourself and tell us what's going on.
So I just wanted to take a moment just to pause and remember that it's about 35 weeks, I think, since George Floyd was murdered. And there's obviously been a seismic change within British society. But I thought it was interesting to remind us all that Black Lives Matter didn't start last year. It actually started in 2013 when Trayvon Martin was shot by George Zimmerman. And it's fascinating that it's really sort of taken off in the last 12 months. And I think the difference between that, what happened in 2013 and what happened last year, was the fact that it was on film and people could no longer sort of dismiss it or think there was an element of hyperbole. We could all see what actually happened. And that, for us at BT, and I think for the rest of UK society, really focused minds about what people were dealing with and what it was like within the workplace and so on. So we at BT, quite soon after that happened, launched our ethnicity rapid action plan. And then for me, it was a natural partnership to work with Race Equality Matters because of the focus on solutions and so on, because we really are so emphatic and clear about not going back to normal. So it's Race Equality Week. We are a global organisation, so we work in more than 50 countries. So I want to highlight the fact to everyone it's Black History Month in the States, where our amazing new ethnicity diversity network that was set up in the last year are holding a range of events. And within BT, for all of our colleagues, we're obviously taking part in the event today, and I'm really looking forward to the event at lunchtime, where we can share what we did around getting better data, and we can learn from others and all the other speakers. I'm a huge fan in sort of cognitive diversity and collaborative working. And then tomorrow we'll be holding an update with our ethnicity diversity network and other colleagues on how we're getting on with our ethnicity rapid action plan. We hold regular events because I'm a strong believer in people kind of holding our feet to the fire. And I know that Joe Heath from Green Park is also going to be holding some great events that we're all going to be tuning into to really learn. On Wednesday, we're having a conversation, a fireside chat with John Amici, who you all know, because obviously as John is a great speaker, and also February is LGBT History Month, and John is an openly gay, Black guy, and we want to hear about that and hear about his views on what's happened over the last year. On Thursday, I'm feeling exhausted just speaking now. On Thursday, we'll be holding out. We're publishing some work on the evolution of language and the importance of language and self-determination. And then on Friday, my brilliant colleague Cordelia, who is in the D&I team here at BT, will be joining you for some reflections on the week. So we have loads of stuff doing, but because we want to kind of take what happened last summer. We launched our Ethnicity Rapid Action Plan. And build on the success of what we've been doing and go sort of faster and stronger. I mean, I'm lucky to be at BT with an organisation which has such a strong legacy around diversity and inclusion. Many people might remember that BT sponsored the Paralympic Games in 2012, and our own Ethnicity Diversity Network was actually founded in 1992. So we are an organisation with a strong history. But we are, we're here, we want to, go faster, do more, evidence-based practice. We really want to focus on what works. So thank you. Thank you for asking us to take part, Raj. It's a huge honour and privilege. We're ready and waiting.
Thank you, Jackie, and thank you for being a actual real person who's been doing this for 10 years and not just jumped on the corporate bandwagon like so many other large companies in the last year. In the chat, someone quite rightly pulled me up for using the phrase BAME, slip of the tongue, excuse me, been doing it for far too long. We are suggesting that the terminology ethnic minorities is used. So hopefully we've shared some of the need for Race Equality Week and some of the exciting and inspiring things that are going on. Now, whether they land or not, of course, is based on how we as individuals shape the cultures and actions within our organisations. Here are some of the things that are going on. Of course, we are focusing on the things that we can provide free guides and training over the next year too. And of course, what the priorities coming out of our corporate networks are for training is a free training regime we'll provide to our Race Equality Network members. This is not a one-time deal. As I said, we're trying to get to 1 million people being affected by this positively in 2 years' time. Some of the things that people have done, though, of course, don't need us. They can be done themselves or with other firms or with existing capability within the organisation. Here's a list of them. If we could go to the next slide. So it's just the start. We're also behind the scenes working at 7 more solutions at concepts in development. We want to get what we're doing working first. We don't want to be one of those people that talks a lot and doesn't get stuff done, but we are a not-for-profit. So if your organizations have got a budget for this, then perhaps they could talk to Javed or one of his team around how they could support us for the future, particularly as we have got this long-term commitment that this should be free for supporting individuals and allies. So as long as that's possible, that will be possible, but we do need corporate help to do that. So Javed, Tasmin, Nish, Anthony, thank you very much. I'm not sure if we've got too much time for the Q&A, but we are due to finish at 10:30. So let's see if there's anything on the chat that needs to be answered particularly. So I mentioned the slip of my tongue around BAME. Jackie, what's your view on this terminology and how corporates can make themselves a bit more relevant to the changing demographic, and also this idea that you can't look at all different racial disparities under one umbrella?
Well, put it simply, my own personal view is that BAME is just a really outdated and unhelpful term, because it just carves everybody up really into white and non-white. BAME is just another way of saying non-white, which is just so hugely problematic. At BT, we are no longer going to be using that term, and we're going to be using the term ethnic minorities. We'll be publishing some work around that at the end of the week as part of our Race Equality Week commitments. I just think it's the social, society has moved on. social trends have moved on, and as with lots of things around language, there's a bit of a lag in terms of the language catching up. I have a huge, language as my, I'm sure my team are groaning, but language to me is really important. I have a huge problem with BAME, but I also have a huge problem with women being referred to as females, not just because it's grammatically incorrect, but I think it otherizes half the globe. So I think language is really important.
Thank you, Jackie. There's another, so thank you for that question, Marsha. There's a question on the chat, Javed, about what's happening within Race Equality Week and where people can get further information, downloads, etc.
Thank you, Raj. If everyone just goes to the raceequalitymatters.com, there's toolkits and guides how to do it. There's also go on to the content part, and there's an events section. And as I mentioned earlier, there's some training that we or Green Park are providing, and there's other events that people can attend. Later this morning, BT, Network Rail and Flare, are joining us for the power of data to tackle race inequality. So there's still time to register for that, and that'll be even more interactive than this one. I think there may have been a slight problem with the chat today. People may not be able to fully access it. So if that was a problem for yourselves, we do apologize. But go to our website, everything's there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so to try and stick to time, I'm just going to bring things together. Thank you all for attending. Have a successful Race Equality Week. Share what you're doing. Make sure it's meaningful. Hopefully you can use some of our social media stuff. If not, then use your own stuff. But if you're doing things that's positive and creating a more positive environment that unsticks some of the issues that we all face, then now is the time to share that and turn this moment of corporate tension into a movement that can't be wheeled back. Thank you to our Visionary Lifetime sponsor, BT, all of our other sponsors. Thank you. You know the difference that your support would have made. This simply wouldn't have got off the ground, let alone had 1,500 organisations involved. Thank you, Jackie and Javed, for today. And for the rest of you, please do use the website. Please do your own events. Please do give us feedback. We're not perfect. We've all got day jobs, but this is something that we just don't walk past the opportunity to make a difference to. And we can't change the past, but we can unite a little bit better and more consistently in the future. And let's not go back to normal. It just wasn't that great for us. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best, and please do stay safe.